Hey guys, let's get more news from Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Tim Benz, Mike Tomlin says Steelers are closer to NFL's elite than they were last year. Is he right? During a season-ending press conference Thursday, head coach Mike Tomlin was asked if he thought that the gap between his Pittsburgh Steelers and the teams playing in this weekend's divisional round of the NFL playoffs was smaller than it was a year ago. Certainly. But we're watching and not playing, Tomlin replied. So, there's work to be done. I agree with the second part of Tomlin's statement. I wish I could be as definitive as he was when he said that his club is certainly closer to those teams than they were a year ago. In the strictest mathematical sense, Tomlin is right. The Steelers were a 10-win team this year. They were only a 9-win team a year ago. The Steelers finished in 7th place in the AFC, qualifying for the final wildcard spot. They finished in 8th place a year ago, missing the final playoff spot in a tiebreaker. The Steelers also improved in their division, going from 3-3 to 5-1 despite the fact that every team in the division finished with a winning record, a first since the 1970 merger. And they beat the AFC's regular season champion Baltimore Ravens twice, albeit with many starters resting the second time, and a wild-card game survivor in Green Bay 23-19 as well. First-round playoff losers in Cleveland and Los Angeles were also victims of the Steelers in the regular season, as they beat the Rams and split with the Browns. In those ways, obviously, yes, Tomlin's claim is substantiated. But then there's the unfortunate reality that the Bills beat the Steelers by 14 in the playoffs' first round. Two other teams that played last weekend, Houston and San Francisco, dusted the Steelers by a combined 60-13 score. So maybe the strides aren't quite as long as we want to imagine. We also must take into account the eye test of what we all saw over the weekend. If the Steelers played any of those 8 teams last weekend, would they have beaten any of them? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, maybe? The Packers look significantly better than they did in Pittsburgh back in November. My guess is the Steelers would have gone 1-7 or 2-6 at best against that crew. Maybe 0-8. There's one thing that really gives me pause about anointing the Steelers as a team that's coming on strong in 2024, though. Shouldn't we have to know who the quarterback is going to be on opening day first, before making that proclamation? We don't know if it's going to be Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph. We don't even know if Rudolph, a pending free agent, is going to be on the roster. If he isn't, who is going to provide the competition for Pickett that Tomlin said he wanted to see? I think competition is good, Tomlin said. I think it's good for all of us. I think it brings out the best in all of us. If Rudolph leaves, that competition may have to come from a rookie or a veteran who finished last year as a backup. At least Rudolph ended 2023 as the Steelers' starter. The starter who guided them to the playoffs when the team looked dead in the water at 7-7. Even if Pickett does win the job, we have no idea what his level of performance is going to be. If it's as mundane as it was before his ankle injury, that doesn't bring the Steelers anywhere close to the level those 8 teams were playing at this weekend. With the possible exception of Tampa Bay, if Baker Mayfield isn't retained, all 13 of the teams in the playoffs are set up in a better quarterback situation than the Steelers. The franchise also doesn't currently have an offensive coordinator. You might rebut that point by advancing, so long as they don't hire Matt Canada back, things will improve. I'll give you that one. However, not knowing the potential ceiling of who will be taking over that job leads to uncertainty. So does the fact that T.J. Watt ended the year injured. Minkah Fitzpatrick and Cam Hayward limped their way across the finish line. The inside linebacker position is still a black hole, besides Landon Roberts. Not to mention, they need at least one more corner, one more safety, a third wide receiver and potentially new starters at center and punter. Put all that together, and if this Steelers team is really closer to where it needs to go, that says a lot more about how long the road has been than it does about how little there is left to travel. Zach Robinson's connection to Steelers QB Mason Rudolph is strong. News came out on Monday that the Pittsburgh Steelers had requested permission to interview Los Angeles Rams passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach Zach Robinson for their offensive coordinator vacancy. Robinson is the first candidate we've heard could be interviewed. Whenever a name comes out, we always want to look for connections, and boy howdy do we have some with Robinson and Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph. Rudolph and Mason actually lived together as Robinson coached Rudolph in his pre-draft preparations ahead of the 2018 NFL Draft. The Steelers selected Robinson in the third round out of Oklahoma State, where Robinson also played quarterback. Robinson said he became like a big brother more than a coach as he helped set up Rudolph's combine and pro day workouts. The two also trained together during Rudolph's time at Oklahoma State prior to his final season. Robinson has a great deal of familiarity with Rudolph, obviously. This could not only be a draw for Robinson to join the Steelers, but also motivation for Rudolph to want to re-sign with the team. It seems that every Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver past and present are chiming in about the Steelers quarterback situation. We've already heard Deontay Johnson endorse Mason Rudolph to be the starter next year. George Pickens called Rudolph the GOAT, and now former Steeler Antonio Brown joined the party. Brown went on Twitter and gave fans a shot to ask him some questions, and one was a two-parter. First, who would he have start at quarterback and how many times would he target Pickens? Brown was definitive in naming Rudolph as the starter and said Pickens should see 16 targets per game. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin has already said he wants the team to re-sign Rudolph and had nothing but positive things to say about his play at the end of the season. Rudolph should have some options in free agency, and without assurances he will be the starter in Pittsburgh in 2024, he might move on for a better opportunity. Stefon Diggs is the favorite to play for the Steelers next season, if not the Bills. If the Steelers want to get over the hump in the playoffs, trading for Buffalo Bills star Stefon Diggs would certainly help. Steelers are the favorites to sign Diggs if he is not playing for the Bills during the 2024-25 season, via Bovada. The New York Giants come in second, while 7 teams are tied at plus 950, including 3 teams still in the playoffs: San Francisco 49ers, Baltimore Ravens, and Kansas City Chiefs. Diggs has been a crucial component of the Bills' success over the past few seasons. But like the Steelers, Buffalo couldn't get over the postseason hump. Although Diggs has been upset about his role in the past, the wide receiver had a huge fall against the Chiefs in the divisional round, playing a major role in his demise. Still, the Steelers, or any team in the league, would be thrilled to have Diggs on their roster. The 2023 season was a down year for the WR as his streak of 3 consecutive Pro Bowls ended. However, he caught 107 passes for 1,183 yards and 8 touchdowns. The expectations are simply higher for a player of Diggs' caliber. The first step, however, is for the Bills to move on from Stefon Diggs. If Buffalo makes the star wide receiver available, expect the Steelers to come calling. And you fan, what do you think of the Stefon Diggs situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.